Today's guest is the founder of one of the fastest growing healthcare businesses in the Northeast. We break down how he went from treating clients in his parents' basement to building a multi-state 95-employee enterprise that's redefining what physical therapy should feel like. In this episode, you'll learn why walking away from the wrong opportunity can be the most powerful move you make, how to rebuild from scratch after a business breakup, the real blueprint for scaling a service business with integrity, and how to build a culture that attracts top talent and keeps clients at the center. Our guest is the recipient of many industry awards.
Hey everyone, welcome to Business Unchained, where entrepreneurs and business owners come together to power up on their journey to greatness. My name is Bobby Mascia, owner of many businesses, including my passion, a wealth management firm that specializes in helping entrepreneurs. My life totally changed when I made a conscious decision to design my businesses to run themselves, not me and my time. If you're looking to get unchained from your business, make more money, and have more time, listen to the experiences of other successful entrepreneurs here on Business Unchained.
Bobby Mascia is the founder and CEO of Greenridge Wealth Planning. All opinions expressed by Bobby and his guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinion of Greenridge Wealth Planning. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any financial decisions. Clients of Greenridge Wealth Planning may maintain positions in any securities discussed in this podcast.
Please welcome the inspiring founder of Attain Physical Therapy, Matt Cifelli.
You are a perfect example of somebody who has a great story to share. I mean, D1 athlete, you walked away from your first job after 4 weeks for a reason that is a core value that you hold to this day. You started treating clients in your parents' basement. Now you have 95 employees. You're a Inc. 5000 honoree, EY Entrepreneur of the Year finalist, New Jersey Biz Award winner. And, you know, this is really about sharing the story behind that journey. Yeah. And we'll start peeling back some of the layer of the onion. But where does your story really begin? Does it begin when you were back grinding as a D1 athlete in Quinnipiac, or was it when you were training your clients in your parents' basement?
It goes back even before that.
Even before that?
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to just a young kid to being the son of really two immigrants. My father's from Argentina, immigrated here when he was 18. My mom was actually born on American soil, but her first language was Italian. When my grandmother landed on American soil, she gave birth to my mom in about 2 weeks. So when I say it goes back to when I was a kid, my dad was always in the food space, food distribution, Italian imports, exports, and then eventually was an Italian deli. So when I say literally at the age of 3-4 years old, water bottles, a cup of coffee, bring it to table 2, table 5. Here's a hot cup of soup, bring it. And I watched the interactions all those years of how my father handled business, and even all the young ones, the older ones that have worked for me over the years. I'd say it doesn't matter if you're making an Italian sub, physical therapy, finance. You're selling a product, and you're communicating a certain level of passion through that product. So,
and the food business is like, I mean, that is a place where you don't only, people look at it and they put it down to a certain degree, but you cut your teeth in the food space, the client relationship, skill set that you have to bring, the speed in which you have to operate, the dirty work,
kick food out, flip tables.
The dirty work that you have to do, which builds up your work ethic and makes you appreciative of when you start to make a name for yourself in another industry. You kind of go back to those roots. I mean, talk to me about your childhood then. Keep going, man.
My childhood was, and I speak often, and always the question I get is like, were your parents tough on you? Did they beat you? And the answer is no.
You didn't get the Italian wooden spoon.
I got that, then the steel spoon, and then eventually that faded. The Italian spoon came out. But for me, it all came back to my dad saying, like, if you're going to do something, put your stamp on something, do it from your heart, right? And if you lead with that, the end result, good things will come, right? However people define success, right? But if you lead with passion, lead with your heart, money will come. That's the end result of the formula. But all through my younger years, watching them grow the business from something small to something a little bit bigger, expand the business into catering. going on deliveries with the delivery drivers and having that human interaction, learning how to speak to people, how to handle money, how to price certain things, right? How to negotiate when I remember vividly as a young kid, there was 3 Russian dudes that came with satchels of coffee beans late at night when it was raining. I'm like, all right, what's going on here?
Sketchy.
Yeah, sketchy, just a bit. But those things kind of crafted my athletic journey through my younger years with travel soccer. And then when I really wanted to make a commitment to playing collegiate sports. And then at a certain point in time, athletics was going to end. I knew that, right? My Division I journey was going to come to a close. I knew it wasn't going pro. So all the skill sets, the things that I learned, how do I translate that into the next chapter of my life? When I'm not putting cleats on anymore and I'm putting a button-down shirt on and a zip up, or I'm getting my hands dirty and putting my hands on someone. So my lens, while I'm not on the field every day anymore, my field is the platform of business.
So did you go to Quinnipiac for PT knowing that that was the direction in which you wanted to go after you had to hang up the cleats? Or did you go to Quinnipiac for the sport and then figure that out on your journey there?
Both. So junior year of high school, I took a class called Dynamics of Healthcare. And I was either going to go towards business school. I wanted to go to Villanova Business School, or the medical route. So I took this course, Dynamics of Healthcare, and part of that class was to go out into the community and spend time with a professional. I chose an orthopedic surgeon. I liked the body, I liked anatomy, I liked using my hands as like a carpenter. So I spent time with an orthopedic surgeon in West Orange. It was a miserable experience, but one that was really pivotal because I left that experience.
Now, was that the first job that you left quickly, or is this a different?
No, this is not even a job. This is just part of academics in high school, right? I walked in, I saw Ferrari on your shirt, and like that resonated with me. It was another x-ray, another prescription, room 42, exam room 3. It was just
super transactional.
Yeah, very transactional. Next man up, next woman up, let's go. So I left that whole experience saying, that's not for me. I watched my father years build a business communicating with someone and having generations come in and out of his door. And I like getting to know Bobby. I like getting to know Luciano. I like getting to know Al and Mike and their kids and the next person that's maybe has a problem that needs to be addressed. And I said, I don't think surgery is going to resonate with me where I'm going to wear a white jacket and clipboard every day. Mm-hmm. Too sterile, too boring, too slow. As an athlete, I was like, speed, let's go. So that class was instrumental, and I had roots in my family that were physical therapists, which was my aunt. So I said to myself, I had exposure to the profession. I knew I wanted to be in business for myself one day, somehow. So I think this is the route for me. When I committed to the physical therapy avenue, I started getting some love for soccer. Right? Schools, coaches reaching out. We like your skill set. We want you to come here. Started at the D3 level, then D2 started to call, and then eventually the D1 level. I'm like, all right, maybe I got something here. Maybe I can use this skill set to kind of take me on an academic journey that I'll be paid for. So I narrowed down PT. I then made a commitment to playing athletics, and let's find a home that can kind of bring those two worlds together. Ultimately, I was like, yeah, I got to get out of Jersey. It's time to take my cleats somewhere else and take my brain somewhere else. And I committed. to Quinnipiac on a partial scholarship. And I also got into the physical therapy program. Back in 2003, we had 2,000 applicants to that PT program for 120 seats. So it was tough. And out of 120, we walked 33 after 6.5 years later. I took my talents up to Connecticut, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I got to continue my soccer career up there. I learned what I needed to learn from the profession. And about 7 years later, I brought it back to Jersey. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this different down here.
Now, is your dad still operating his businesses, or?
Sold the business.
He did. He sold
August 2020, he sold it after 33 years. Washed his hand, and that was it. And
right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. He got lucky. He had 2 buyers. He sold to one buyer that was a chef down in Miami. And that was it. Hasn't looked back since.
Yeah.
He is doing retirement right. Hanging out with his grandkids and sleeping a little bit later, not up 4 a.m. every day. Yeah, he's doing it right.
So when you think about your business and you think about the business that you grew up with, what are some of the parallels that you're drawing in your current mindset on how you're growing it? And what are some of the things that you think about differently that you have implemented in your growth?
Let's talk about what's different first.
Sure.
If my dad was in this studio, part of this question right now, he would say to the two of us, Matthew, or my son, why are you doing so much? Right? I guess the old school Italian mentality was like, let's keep it in a box and we're content with that. Mm-hmm. I think now that he's seen a lot of the successes all these years later, I'll probably say it less, but always it was like, why do you need another location? Why do you have all these people working for you? Why do you want to grow into Washington, D.C. or Florida or New York? Take care of home base and do that really, really well and be content. Where we're different is I've always wanted more. Mm-hmm. Used to say to us all the time, I'm in a box, I'm in prison all day long inside my four walls, and that's all I know. And for 33 years, there was a lot of truth to that, right? If you see him, how he handles himself, how he has handled himself after August 2020, 2021, there's things he's never seen before in his life.
And you think just from hearing that over and over again, that is what changed your mindset to look a little bit further out? Or what do you think was the driving force to make you think about things differently?
I think I'm wired different. And I think kind of the millennial mindset and what we're used to is like, I always wanted more, whether I was on the field, different business ventures, and I liked the thirst for the unknown and trying to figure out and problem solve.
It keeps it interesting.
Interesting, fresh. But I think, the thirst to problem solve.
It's funny. If I think about my journey a little bit, my mother was always you can do whatever it is you want. Just put your mind to it, right? Work hard, do what you need to do, and you can accomplish whatever you want. My dad, on the other hand, was old school Italian who was very much always worried that we were going to do something that was going to be either we're going to get hurt or we're going to extend ourselves, or it was always work really hard. But the minute you went out of his comfort zone, he was like, whoa, you can't do that. You can't do that. Don't do that. You can't do that. And, I have the same mentality as you do. I kind of attribute it to my mom.
Okay.
But I also attribute it to the fact that I spent my whole childhood proving to him that I can do it. You can't do that. Oh yeah? Watch. And then I do it. So it's interesting how we take the experiences of our youth, and it really shapes kind of who we are today. If you dive back in, They
never told me that I couldn't do it. Kind of how I started this. If you're going to do it right, do it from your heart, or don't waste people's time.
Yeah. But it's almost like, why you got to do that? Why you got to go and why you have to have another location? Why do you have to have 3 locations? Why do you have to go into another state?
And add more headaches, right?
It's almost the same thing as you can't do that. It's just a different version. And I think that, part of that might be some proving.
But why I say I think I'm wired different. When my mom was cleaning out their house after my grandmother passed, she came across my 4th grade yearbook, pulls it out. It's on the kitchen island. She's like, go take a look at your yearbook. I said, all right. She's like, you may, and like, go to your picture and read under your picture. It's like, okay. Flip the page, whatever it was. Favorite sports, soccer. What do you want to be when you grow up? Sports physical therapist.
Get out of here.
Back then, I swear to God. Back then, I wrote it. There was something pre-programmed.
That's pretty funny. So you, PT, right? Talk a little bit about Attain, because you've done something that I think it's not super unique in your space, but there's a really small amount of people who get that successful as you. I think a majority of the people who are in your space from our experience of what we know almost have the same mentality your dad. I got one spot. Why do I need another? Why do I need another? Why do I need another? I'm just going to do what I do. Talk to me about your journey in the industry and how you started out of your parents' basement and turned it into what you have now.
Attain it came to be after some really, really tough times for my previous venture. So if we go back to, my parents' basement, I moved back to Jersey, got licensed, and you finally have a license to legally touch people, right? And help. People come in with all sorts of questions and ailments, post-surgery, not post-surgery, vulnerable, in pain, not in pain. So you finally have a license to touch someone and you start seeking employment. And in a lot of the speeches that I give, I bring attention to this statement of one big mistake that I made. I took my first position with a multidisciplinary practice simply because of the dollar figure I saw on a job offer. Sizable job offer, brand spanking new out of school. I'm like, this is great. So I said yes. And yeah, as we started this, I left in 4 weeks. 4 weeks out. Nothing else put in place. It was time for me to move on. It just didn't sit well with me. I was getting pushed in certain directions to bill for things that weren't being done, push people to other providers, pain management specialists, acupuncturists, chiropractic that you may not have needed. And I said, I just worked all these years as hard as I did, and I'm not going to put this at risk. So I listened to what was inside. I said, it's time to move on. The owner of the practice came in.
That's a huge ethic. I mean, for somebody who has like real ethical constraints, that's huge.
Happens every day. It's gotten worse in 15 years. What providers are kind of pushing on other young providers to do. But again, you got to stay true to your values and where you came from, right? And, represent the name to the highest degree. And I said, I got to go. I remember him coming in on a Thursday night and sat me down. He's like, what can we do to keep you? Here's more money. Here's this, here's that. There's nothing. Like, I got to put my head down on the pillow at night knowing that I can rest comfortably and do right by people. So I left. No other positions in place. And I resorted to what I do well.
Just got to figure it out.
You grab the legal pad, you start, grab a pen, grab a pencil. And what do I have? Well, I have a license, I have a certification, I have a skill set to help people. So where do we start? You go into the Rolodex, right? The contact list in the iPhones and the Google phones that are there today. Start making phone calls. And yeah, at that point in my life, at 24, I had accrued a sizable amount of equipment. I had parents that gave me the opportunity to throw that stuff in the basement, and I started growing a small business, a training business. In a very short period of time, I had about 15 to 20 clients come into the house. And then I went to the computer, and at that time it was monster.com was still a thing. And I found this job posting for a part-time PT position in Montclair. The business had just opened up, and I submitted my resume. I heard nothing. So, right, the saying that typically has come about with how I operate is if Matt doesn't get something, doesn't hear back, what do? You show up. You show up and knock. So I wasn't getting the phone call back. I kept calling. Oh, yes, we did get your resume. The director hasn't happened to review it yet. Eventually he reviewed it, and then they wanted to see me in the office. So I went in, and I went an hour early. I sat down in the front foyer, and I sat down in front of a 70-inch TV, and SportsCenter was on. I'm like, all right, like this resonates. I waited to be called, and we had a great conversation, right? And there was alignment in what we were trying to do to help people. The director at the time.
And how old was that person?
Well, he was
roughly
probably mid-30s.
Okay, so you guys were not too far from age.
No, maybe 8 to 10 year difference in age. But he had a great skill set, right? Had worked the nets, did the high level sports rehab stuff. It's like, great, someone I can latch onto and learn from to grow my personal skill set. And those conversations progressed, and eventually I got in front of the owner of the business at the time, kind of in an office like this, desk like this. He's looking at my resume that was probably 5 pages deep at the time. And he goes to me, he's like, you have a shit ton of experience of being just new out of school. And I said, yeah, you're damn right. I worked hard for what you see in black and white on that resume. So he goes to me, we'd love to kind of bring you on the team, but because we just opened, like we don't have much. A very profound statement. I said, if you have something, I will take it. Looks at me like I have 10 heads. He's like, if we have like 2 hours a week, he goes, you want that? If you're offering, I'll take it. He goes, why? I said, because I feel something here. And if I'm given the right opportunity and the right runway, I know what I could do here. So 2 hours grew into 4 to 8, 8 to 16. Eventually it was a full-time role.
So at that point, were you still operating out of your parents' basement?
Still.
Okay, so you still had your side gig going, which was your primary gig, then turned your side gig, or maybe vice versa because it was only 2 hours.
That grew into a full staff level position. And then was another kind of pivot point where I tell young minds, if you know your worth, don't get taken advantage of, no matter who's above you or who's around you. If I believe in something and I get behind it, you will have 150% of me. The director at the time asked for coverage on a Saturday. said, sure, no problem. I can help you out. He had a wife, he had a kid, he had kids. And I covered the office that Saturday. He happened to show up at the office that Saturday because around in the same shopping center, the PNC Bank, it was a New York Giants signing. He happened to come in the office because he had to use the restroom, and he walks right by me. I smelled alcohol in his breath. I was like, all right. And what I walked into was an uneasy situation because none of the documentation was done for the patients that were scheduled for that day. So I was set up to fail. Went horrible that day. Now, if you dug deeper under the hood, you'd realize that there was more than just documentation for those respective patients scheduled that day. It went back weeks and weeks and months. I started by saying it was a brand new business, right? Went to the owner at the time and I said, here's the situation. I will move mountains for you, but I'm not going to get behind something that just left the station and is about to fall apart. So you got two options. You work on fixing this, or I'll go figure it out for myself somewhere else. And the next day, I get a text message. Do you have time to meet at Starbucks in Bloomfield? Like, all right, sure. This is with the owner. And I said, did I say something wrong? Did I push too hard on a patient? Did someone complain they got hurt? Naturally you think negative. Right. So I walk in and we sit down and he says to me, today's a very important day. Okay, why is that? I'm here to talk about an open position. What position's open? He goes, the directorship role is going to be open because I'm letting so-and-so go today and I want to talk to you about it. Do you think I should hire above you? Fired back? Absolutely not. Why is that? He goes, you're relatively young in this profession, don't have much experience. Why should I not hire above you? So let's do this. Give me October, November, December. So this was September we met. Give me October, November, December. Let's sit down in January and let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the culture. Let's look at employee morale and see if I was able to right the ship. And so I was like, I'm willing to put my head on the chop block. And if it doesn't work, cut me loose.
So what was it at that time that you were strategizing in your head? Like you saw that there was something wrong. He wasn't doing it. You created this opportunity by going after it, right? Kind of like if Matt wants something, go and get it, knock on the door, show up. You're ready to show up. What are you showing up with? What are some of the things that how did you come up?
I showed up with a thirst and a desire to put a product forward to the public of what PT should be, right? It was people that were there, employees that we had, which was like 3 at the time. If they were willing to listen and kind of stay committed to my thirst to bring a product to the public of what PT should be like, I knew that we could grow something special.
So give me an idea. The experience was this. Your experience looked like this. How did you bridge the gap?
Public's perception of PT is plain and simple, Bobby. PT is a waste of time. Exercises are stupid. Doesn't work for me. I went in, they gave me ice and stim and kicked me out the door. It's public's perception. It's been like that since I was young. My career still is like that today. Mm-hmm. So the goal was to recreate my Division I athletic experience, right, where we had all these disciplines around us at the snap of a finger. Let's bring that to the public, right, where we're not scheduling 15 patients an hour.
So let's have them come in, injured, recovery, needed recovery, and let's get them out so they feel like they've made some improvements, not like they were just given a few exercises to do.
A few exercises, they weren't another number, and they didn't share a single therapist with 7 other people at the 9 o'clock hour, right? Listen, the profession is a volume-based business, mm-hmm. and a lot of these practices out there today, these conglomerates that have merged, have positioned themselves to just force feed patients to these therapists that they burn them out. So our model was different. It was more patient-centric. And again, to recreate what I had at the snap of a finger, where when someone is discharged from care, great, let's keep them in the family, so to speak, and they can transition to a trading vertical of the business. And if something does happen again, great. The concept was table to turf and turf to table. So when someone's discharged from the table, keep them in the family, you discharge them to one of the trainers that you have in-house. If they come in off the streets looking for some sort of performance training discipline on the turf, maybe they have a bump, maybe they have a bruise, transition to the table. And you kind of create that whole revolving cycle as a business continuum.
It's funny because I'm just I like to draw some parallels, right? When I'm talking to people, just so this way it resonates with, how I think about things as well, or just reinforces kind of the things that I'm doing. And it was the same way I addressed the financial services industry. I came into the business, not too dissimilar from what you dealt with, where it's volume based, it's sell another product. And I said, this is totally against everything that I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And I started a fee-based practice, which was not a thing back when we started this practice. And it was all about doing what's right for the client, not about what was necessarily the best for our bottom line. And we still operate to this day.
Same model.
And we've grown like a hockey stick with more employees and more clients, more assets under management, more complex situations, because we've become the go-to place for entrepreneurs because of the passion that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's not just, it's not just, going out and disrupting in your industry. I think that people can take that and they can think about where they are in their industry and how they can change things, because that's transferable. It's not, it's a powerful message.
Yep. So that model, we did great things in that first business venture in the rehab space. We grew it to about 80 employees, different verticals of that business, 7 locations.
And this is working for the other guy.
Then we partnered.
And then you partnered.
We partnered together, and I was like, listen, if we're going to do this, I'm going to break my back.
How long into the engagement of that role, that position, did the partnership come?
About a year.
So it took you about a year.
Yeah,
and
he
was like, holy shit,
I took over the directorship role. Then about a year, and I was like, listen, we can grow this thing. I know what I can do. I know we can do together. I do believe that there's power and strength in numbers. I really do believe that. You could do great things, leveraging people's skill sets. And we were off to the races. We built an amazing business in 9.5 years. And that came to a sudden halt in October of 2019. Right. So you talk about what's next, what happened next.
You guys are riding. You guys are just riding yourselves right down Broadway, doing exactly what you thought you needed to do, executing, firing on all cylinders. And you're saying it all came to a halt.
Yep. Saying probably in May, June-ish of 19, you kind of started to see a shift. We were on different wavelengths, and I was like, you know what? Something's broken here. I'm working so hard to fill the gas tank, leveraging different relationships, new physician contacts. And I was at a point where I didn't have answers for my staff members anymore that were asking questions about what the hell is going on here. And I knew something needed to change.
What was it that they felt was going on?
He was becoming more distant from the business. I was the COO of the entire operation, managing partner, and everything was on me, Bobby, everything. And it got exhausting. And when I start to see that kind of split.
Was he seeing patients or even not?
No, he was a non-licensed professional, a business guy. So he couldn't even operate in a revenue producing capacity. So I had to look at the best interests of my household. At that time, it was just 2 of us. We wanted to grow the family. I was like, I needed more, right? If I go to the gas station, fill the tank up full, I get 2 miles down the road and there's a hole in the gas tank, that affects us in our house. So we were away on vacation, October 2019. We're in downtown Denver, and all of a sudden I got a text from a former employee, and it says, Matt, what took you so long? It's about time. Looking at my text in a Mexican restaurant, and I say, Scott, what are you talking about? What took you so long? He was like, I just got a message from 4 of your employees saying that you left. I was like, I left? It's like, you know more than me. All of a sudden, I get a input password on my Outlook app.
Mm-hmm. Locked out. I go to our EMR system on a Safari browser. Can't get in. Starting to process what's going on here. Can't get in. All of a sudden, I get a letter to my personal email at the Mexican restaurant. And it basically says, you are not welcome back on any of the premises of our locations. You will be paid through the end of the calendar year. We are considering your letter of intent, because he was delivered a letter of intent for a buyout in August of 19. But don't come back. Don't come back. So the carpet got ripped out from underneath me. So he's got a signed LOI.
Mm-hmm. Not signed. He's got an LOI that I delivered that he's evaluating.
You gave him an LOI and said, I want to buy you out.
I want to be bought out. I want my interest bought out.
You wanted to be bought out at that point. Okay.
Time for me to move on. Here's my interest. Here's what I think it's worth. Here's the formula inside of an operating agreement. Here's what we calculated. Let us know.
Buy me out, I'm gone.
That's it.
And he said, while you were on vacation,
I'm cutting you from everything.
go fuck yourself.
Yeah, okay, so we can talk like that.
You're out.
Yeah.
And I'm taking a dramatic approach to cutting you off, and we'll figure it out with you out of these four walls.
Yep.
Or other location walls as well.
So I step out of the restaurant. I call my attorney. I said, Nick, check your email. I need you to look at this letter. And he's like, Matt, knowing you, he's like, you're not going to listen to me, but he's like, just have a good time. We'll handle this when you get back.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Hon, let's get another bottle of wine.
Have a good time. We'll handle this when you get back. So we were attending a concert at Red Rocks that night. It was an amazing experience. Listen, you do your best when like catastrophe hits.
Yeah.
So that was strike one. Strike two gets better. We fly back. We land. My wife's like, listen, I'm going to step out. I'll be right back. I'm going to go to CVS. Like, take care of the luggage for us. Sure. Comes back, goes to the bathroom, comes out, pregnancy test. It's positive. So I sit down and I asked her, I was like, all right, so what does that mean? She looks at me. She's like, are you a moron? She's like, you were highly trained. You don't need me to tell you what this means. It's like, all right. I know what that means. She's like, yeah, we're having a baby. So I took a little time for that to process. You get the carpet ripped out from underneath you. You're now having a child. And back to what I said earlier, right?
Listen, nothing like a little pressure to kind of motivate you. Let's go.
Yeah, then COVID comes.
You sound like a guy who needs a little extra motivation. So let's hear it.
So legal battle starts. Attain, the concept of Attain comes to life. And I think I incorporated it in November 2019. Because you got to start the credentialing process.
So this is impactful. You give an LOI. He says, you're out.
Yeah.
I'll pay you to the end of the year.
Yeah.
You now have to battle for your payout.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking, all right, I'm going to get paid. I'm getting a payout. I'm having a kid. What the hell is next on my life's journey?
Mm-hmm.
And COVID hits. So
nobody knew, right? So we started this legal battle. I knew I was going to find a home somewhere, right? Attain came to life, and to respect.
Are you back in your parents' basement? Where's Attain?
Attain came to life in Riverdale, New Jersey concept, right? Just on pieces of paper that got sent to the IRS and the state of Delaware. That was it. So I knew, listen, I'm a respectful guy. I'll respect an operating agreement that was this thick and had a restrictive covenant. So Attain was going to come to life in Belmar, New Jersey, in March of 2020, right? Far south of all of our locations that we built together.
Right, outside the radius.
Outside the radius.
No competition.
Hour and 22 minutes every single day I was ready to drive up and down to start a brand new business from scratch. March 16th, what happens? The world comes to a grinding halt. I was supposed to go live that Monday with Attain. So world comes to a halt.
Signed lease and everything?
Signed lease, everything. Ready to go. Okay. I just finished painting the office with my brother, patching things up. Equipment's in, ready to go. World comes to a sudden halt. Baby on the way. You're in a legal mess. And no one knew how to operate. Nobody. How we knew how to do business was non-existent. Was non-existent. Yep. So what do? Right? You can cry about it, or your back's up against the wall in more ways than one, and you have a new mouth to feed in April, May, 3 months coming. You figure it out. So I did, I think one important thing at that juncture. I had a conversation with my attorney. I said, listen, I'm done fueling this nonsense. I'm not going to pay for your next boat. Not going to pay for your next house, not paying for a beach house. Will you do this on contingency, fight this battle with me? He goes, no. Okay, we're done. He goes, what do you mean? I said, we're done. Send a letter the interest, they sent a letter saying my interest was null and void, which is what we're going to start fighting about. I'm like, I'm not going to litigate this for 3 years, 5 years. I'm not, at that time, COVID.
What kind of money were you, if you don't mind sharing, what kind of money were you at that
Should have been
point?
7 figures.
Okay.
Should have been 7 figures. We would have negotiated that to what? Who knows?
Right.
So I said, I'm done. I'm not going to litigate this. I'm not going to push this out, drag this out for 5 years. Because at that time, COVID hit hard. I wasn't part of the business. I said, he's going to lose everything. I'm not going to be another creditor in line and waste my time.
No.
If I'm going to bet, I'm betting on myself. And I'll die on that sword. So I said, write a letter, end this crap now, and we're done. I'll pay you whatever else is left to pay you for your time spent on this nonsense. And I got to focus on Attain and commit to this.
Did you at least ask for the restrictive covenants to be released? Or not at that point?
I didn't even
at that
care.
point, it didn't even
It meant
matter
nothing to me. And, even now, like if I said it yesterday in the office, like if anyone is going to compete against me, Bobby, try. You're not going to outwork me. Try. You'll get run over. And my thought process was then like,
And if not, we're going to have a lot of fun competing against each other because I need a little bit of stimulation in my life like that.
So it was an all-out commitment to Attain and trying to figure out how to navigate a COVID landscape. You couldn't go into doctor's offices. You couldn't solicit business the same way, right? I had a brand new business, a brand new child, and you could not do business the way we all have been doing it for years.
So let's get into your head a little bit in terms of how you were thinking about things to strategize around so you can come out successful. Because I think people think of COVID and they go, yeah, COVID once in a lifetime, once in 100 years, once in a 500-year instance. You're going to shut down the entire world, not going to happen again. But I think the lessons come with how you process and think through things. And I'd love to just peel into some of that because, that story is meaningful.
Yeah. First thing in my head was, I have a pregnant wife. Her responsibility is the child. I'll figure out our shit for the household, right? And figuring out the shit for the household was pounding the phones to get a contract. Now, to me, stupidity is doing the same thing over and over and over, thinking you're going to get a different result. I knew I wanted to do things different with Attain than I did with the previous rehab venture. Insurances are always tough to deal with. We were an out-of-network practice. There was a lot of threats in legislation down in Trenton about out-of-network reimbursement. I said, all right, I need something consistent. How can we leverage different relationships that's going to allow us that consistency in reimbursement? That consistency was the federal government in Medicare. Mm-hmm. So a massive pivot for me was to leverage the geriatric space and start to procure some contracts with assisted livings. Now, geriatric space, vulnerable patient population. COVID was rampant, right? Mm-hmm. So you need a little bit of luck sometimes too. I'll lead with that. I met and got connected to a young executive director for a Sunrise Assisted Living in Shrewsbury, New Jersey. It's amazing, amazing woman, Jessica. Right?
So you're still in the lease. You're still in Belmar, Shrewsbury.
I got out of the lease. It was fortunate. Okay. Got out of that.
All right.
Pulled the stuff out, got out of the lease. That was someone else's problem. I had nothing besides federal documents that said Attain. I had a bank account with a couple $100 in it.
All right.
And I said, you know what? We need to get a contract somehow, some way. I got lucky. I had a young executive director in Jessica that I met, and she toured a brand new assisted living that they were still waiting for their license, still waiting for paint to dry. And she says, listen, I need someone young. I need someone hungry. I'm done with the Foxes of the world. Fox is a big multi-state conglomerate that is very heavy in the geriatric space. Mm-hmm. I'm done with them. I need something. I need you. I need your energy. And if we're going to make an impact statement and with this brand new location.
So she was looking for disruption.
Yeah.
She didn't want status quo. You were the disruption that just so happened to be, like you said, luck,
timing, everything. Right. And I said, all right, you take a chance on me. I take a chance on you. Now I said, I'm the physical therapist. I'm the office manager. I'm the attorney. I'm everything. Right. I have
the butcher,
nothing.
the baker, the candlestick.
Everything
maker.
else. Yep. Everything under the sun. So my daughter was born June 3rd. And I get a phone call from Jessica. It's probably about June 9th or 10th. And she goes, we're ready. Are you? Our first resident's moving in. Now, the beauty of that location was that they were marketing the shit out of that location to be basically COVID-free because it was brand spanking new. Paint was hardly dry.
Yeah.
So great. I was like, let's run with it. June 15th, Attain finally, June 15th, 2020, Attain finally came to life. I treated the first patient. She has since passed. Forever remember her. She was a Navy veteran. I treated her for a bunch of months and then she moved on, but that was her first patient, June 15th. Next hurdle from that was I knew that I wanted to do things different than my dad, right? How we were, maybe an hour or so ago. Yeah. I knew to do things different. And this business model, how and why it was strategic, was that for one particular resident, I can leverage 3 disciplines: physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. So how do I get more people on board on the Attain train? It's tough, right? Brand new business. I was basically selling my history.
Right. Not enough clients. You don't have revenue coming in.
No revenue coming in.
Somebody's got to take another leap of faith in their need to be reinventing themselves.
And I found her. It was the first group interview that I have ever done.
You didn't go to your cousin who was in your program at Quinnipiac?
No, keep it out of the state. No. I found her. She was a young occupational therapist, had just passed her boards. And first group interview that I have ever done inside that room down in Shrewsbury. I remember it like it was yesterday. She was sitting 1, 2, and 3. She was sitting to my right, and she stuck out like a superstar. Her name's Colleen, occupational therapist, and I take a lot of pride in saying into the mic in front of you, still with me to this day. So Attain was her first job out of school, still with us to this day. She has ascended tremendously. She's taken on a clinical manager role for us. At one point, she'll probably be a regional director for us. Amazing, amazing young woman. So that was the first hurdle, right? Getting someone convinced that, you know what? I got you.
Yeah.
The world's falling apart.
That's the hardest part.
But
you
I
got
got
you. No proof of concept.
None.
And you've got to try to bring in the talent.
Do you have benefits? Do you have this? Do you have that? Like everything that someone wants with a job. And it's like, I have that. I can do that for you. But that was the first hurdle, convincing her. And then little by little, like you kind of started to build a team, right? You brought in different disciplines. I brought in an office manager. One contract grew into 2. Then once things kind of settled with all of the legal stuff, I said, you know what? Let's get back to my roots, my home base, which was northern New Jersey. I started to infuse another outpatient location. So I was back to kind of 2 verticals of the business, right? 2 different revenue streams. One where it's outpatient, where you're playing golf with your friends on the weekend. You can come see us on Monday morning. And then you have the geriatric vertical where you
show up to the assisted living, and then you work with your patients there.
Work with the patients there. What's beautiful about that, overhead is very, very, very low. A lot of the buildings we work with, it's simply a provider services agreement. I mean, there's no financial arrangement for a lease. Some of them we do. We have physical space that we lease, which is very, very minimal. And that's where I was like, I'm going to do things different. My days of paying $8, $9, $10, $12,000 a month in rent, I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take on that burden. So when we started to infuse the outpatient component again, I said, you know what? I want to leverage relationships with the gyms. 10,000 square foot gyms where we were one inside Fairfield. I since moved that location up to Pompton Plains inside a 50,000 square foot gym. We did a deal with the JCC and YMCA in Edison. So I was leveraging foot traffic, paying down in the opportunity.
So you had to find somebody, obviously, to run that facility.
I started it. Bobby, I was treating morning, noon, and night 6 days a week. You wear all the hats.
Oh, yeah.
You do what you have to do.
You have to.
Everything, right? I was HR. I was the attorney. I was the office manager. I was treating full day, returning patient phone calls at night. When you talk about what is entrepreneurship, it's you do everything you need to do from start to finish, morning, noon, and night.
But if you don't grind through that, and I was talking about this with actually our COO, and if you don't grind through that, you don't know where to issue spot and help problem solve. If you don't understand what happens there, like I can say I've done every job underneath this roof. So if you tell me something can't be done, I can call bullshit.
Yeah, I tell you you're wrong.
If you tell me this is the only way we can do it, I can call bullshit.
Yeah.
If you told me, no, that can't be done at all, I can call bullshit. But I can also say, oh my God, you're doing a great job. This is way better than what I could have done. And as an owner, as somebody who's an entrepreneur, that's what you look for. You look for somebody who can do the job that you're not the best at way better than you.
Yep.
So listen, par for the course, right? If you're going to be successful, you have to wear those hats.
Right. And I was happy to wear it, still happy to wear it, right? You'll still see me clean the tables that I put bodies on today in the office that I still treat. I don't treat 6 days a week anymore. It's impossible. Business has grown too much. But the Attain vehicle, 8-9 years ago, my definition of business was usually always centered around the finances, right? The means to earn, centered around money, 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 money. Fast forward, right? As you age and you have successes and failures and good experience with employees and poor experiences, like you hopefully learn from your mistakes. My definition is very different now. If you look at our growth in just over 5 years and what we've accomplished, right? A lot of the accolades that you said, right? The accolades that Attain has accomplished, not just because of me, it's because of all 100 employees that we have across state lines, right? That make this thing work for the patients that we see. The definition for me now is a platform for expression, right? Giving a young Colleen an opportunity to express herself through practice, right? And put together a certain plan of care that she can have success with in a patient and not be bombarded with all this objectivity of what it is to make a single dollar in our space.
It sounds like another parallel being drawn. I mean, it's amazing. One of the things I want to ask you along the same lines is I think one of the hardest parts for most people who open up a business are really good at what they do is when you're grinding and you're wearing all those hats, you're really working in the business nonstop.
Yep.
And your ability to kind of extract yourself and work on the business is very small at that point. And most people don't learn how to kind of step back and have the strategic viewpoint that you had to grow this thing out. Where did you build your foundation from scalability? Because it didn't come from your dad.
No.
But you were able to scale this. You were able to pull yourself out of the weeds to put together a grand plan to execute on. What were some of the tenements that you learned and lived by along the way? What is it that got you from I am Attain to Attain is us?
I think it goes back to being an athlete. And in my sport, right? I can't win a soccer game by myself, right? You need 11 players on the field to accomplish the task of putting that ball inside those 3 posts. And you have a coach that puts strategy in place and brings the guys or gals together and says, all right, here's the opponent for this upcoming weekend. Here's what we see on film. Here's what we analyze, and here's going to be our approach. And you need the players to execute. So I think my years as an athlete.
So that discipline stems from your playing sports and building that over those formative years.
1,000% yes.
And then converting it into how you live the rest of your life through the business lens as opposed to the athletic lens.
1,000% yes. I know my 39-year-old body can't do what my 20-year-old body did. I'm okay with that.
Are you though?
I am.
I'm not.
Because I get it. I get that satisfaction in different ways now. Conversations like this, people that are equally as passionate in finance. I get it. And I, like I said, I still treat. So I still dabble in being able to fill that thirst and hunger with people that I put my hands on every single day, right? The high school athlete at DePaul Catholic that's not getting much love yet, that comes in with groin pain. And you know what? Matt, I need you or your team to help me. I got 2 weeks left before we go live. And my first 3 games are important. Great. We can help you do that. And when that kid gets a scholarship, I can hang my hat on that. That keeps me connected. I can have a conversation with Colleen 5 years later, look at her growth and say, she's done all these amazing things. And she trusted me back then to be able to provide that runway for her.
So if you look back, right, we've named a number of different instances where your life has pivoted and you were forced to just figure it out. Mm-hmm. What are three of the hardest things that you had to go through if you look back on that journey and reflect? What are the three most difficult pivots that you had to manage through?
Number one, I could tell you it was junior year of my time spent at Quinnipiac. I did not play 4 years of soccer at Quinnipiac. I played 3. Coach Carrington, who had recruited me, he was fired after our freshman year. It's a whole big internal thing. And they brought in a coach, Coach DaCosta, still there to this day, today, amazing guy. He brought in an assistant coach, will not name, but there was a lot of friction, not just with me, with the assistant coach, but with other players. Now, I don't know if it was recorded, but we talked about your friend in Denmark. He had a very multinational team, had a lot of my teammates and my closest friends from Africa. So my junior year, the assistant coach had a lot of issues with our African-American teammates of mine. Turned into a whole big racial thing. And I was not okay with that. I found myself going to practice upset, pissed off, going in for tackles, and hitting in different ways that I wouldn't. I was like, this is not me. This is not what I've done all these years as an athlete. And I think it's time to pivot. So at that juncture, I knew I was not going pro and I was going to take my talents and my efforts and my enthusiasm somewhere else. So after junior season, that was 2007, I walked into the coach's office and I said, here's my shirt. I'm done. Look at me like I'm crazy. And I said, it's been real, but I find myself thinking different about the sport and why I'm committed to the team. And I'm going to focus my efforts in where my future is going to take me. So that's number one. I hung my cleats up junior year of college and I said, you know what, it's time to pivot and focus all of my academics towards becoming a personal trainer and being the best damn therapist to what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Do you have any regrets of that?
None whatsoever. It's the best thing ever. It forced me into the training space and I became certified as a trainer at a really young age. And that forced me to figure out how to sell to people that were much older than me and had much more in their bank account than me and convince them to spend money on my services at a young age. So figuring out how to sell, that taught me a lot. And it got me a lot of reps at a young age, right? Working with professionals, lawyers, finance guys, attorneys, different business professionals that were coming in seeking my services. So it got me reps, right? What I was learning in the classroom, I could really apply in real time once I stepped out of the classroom and I was training clients. Second pivot point was what you and I spoke about earlier, right? That juncture of knowing your worth, not getting taken advantage of, and you spent all this time and money on a degree, and someone is trying to put you in uneasy situations and take advantage of that license. That was the first job position that I took and left in 4 weeks. I knew it didn't resonate right with me at all. I knew that I needed a certain type of clientele to make me whole every day and get up for the next, 15, 20, 25, 30 years.
So if something doesn't fit with who you are and the fabric of who you are and what you're trying to accomplish, don't just stick around for the money.
Move on. Money will come.
Next. I think that's hard for young people to hear, though.
Because of social media and what's put out there today.
Money will come is a very nice promise, but it's a scary thought for them. And, I think to your credit, which kind of echoes your experience, is when you really get passionate about what it is that you're doing, you will look to learn it faster. You will work harder on it. You will get those hours of reps in, and you're going to become the expert, which is going to put you and set you apart from the people who are just doing it for the money.
Yep. I agree. That's very well said. Third point was the nasty exit with the partnership. I was speaking at Montclair State at Entrepreneur Week. I have a close relationship with one of the professors and kind of talking about a condensed version of the story today. And one of the young high school students asked me, what'd you learn? And what would you have done different? And I fired back. I learned that I need to spend more time looking at agreements, analyzing them better. Because I made a couple mistakes inside that operating agreement that bit me in the ass. But that number 3 was that nasty partnership and that exit. But for every, storm comes sunshine at the back end of that storm. It's what I needed, and the timing of how everything unfolded between the pregnancy, COVID hitting. Yeah, you fast track that fuel real quick, man.
People look at those one of two things, right? You either walk away from that in the way that you did, which is, probably the more unique way to say, hey, I'm leaving money on the table. I'm willing to bet on me. I'm going to be more valuable than whatever money I'm leaving on the table. Let me go after this voraciously and just get after it. And then there are people who kind of dwell and they let that eat away at them. And, one of the things that I've learned in the spirit of what you're discussing here, and it's a hard lesson learned. Sometimes learning that lesson in a hard way will prevent a more disastrous occurrence of that happening in the future. And if you kind of put it into perspective of how could it be worse instead of how terrible it is in the moment, can I learn from this? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, they try to take that learning element away, that piece to say like, you know what, tough lesson learned. But did you learn it? Yeah. Did you really learn what you needed to learn from it to move so you can get further and further faster, and also not get tripped up on something in that same learning experience that you just worked through?
But if you Google definition of entrepreneurship, I'm pretty sure in that Google definition spits back out, key word is risk. People are scared to take risk. And if you want to label yourself, categorize yourself as a true entrepreneur, are you willing and do you have the courage to take risk independently of anyone else? Mm-hmm. And I love Gary Vee. I've listened to his audiobooks, read his books. And years ago, before COVID hit, I was listening to an audiobook of his, and he kind of said it in different ways. And when he talks, he's pretty powerful, delivers a lot of passion and enthusiasm as well. But he comes up with his definition, and he was like, listen, like I'm talking about true entrepreneurship. Like you're not getting health benefits from anyone. You're not getting a 401k. Like you're building this shit from scratch, right? And are you willing to take that leap and not get like a handout from your parents? Bobby, in the beginning of COVID, when it hit, my parents were coming to me like, do you need money? I said, no. We can help you. Here's 10 grand. No, I don't need it. Now, is that, I take a lot of pride, call it whatever you want, right? In the beginning of COVID too, my parents said to me also, you should file for unemployment. Like, what do you mean? File for unemployment? Like, again, that didn't resonate with it. It's not in my DNA, right? So I processed that. My in-laws, you guys should file for unemployment. And they're like, it's your right. You've paid into it. Like, yeah, but I can't do it. Long story short, I filed, and you got a couple shekels for going through that process. But are you truly willing and ready to take risk on your own shoulders?
I think some people we go to banks for loans because we need them to grow. We have family that are willing to maybe help us out, whether it's free childcare or it's here's a little bit of money to buy that next piece of equipment. I don't take that away from the entrepreneur, but I think where most people get stuck is they have this dream of being an entrepreneur. They have their job. Their entrepreneurial mindset dies with their side gig because their side gig always becomes their side gig. They never take that risk to say, I need to be untethered, get uncomfortable, and put myself in a position where I'm committing fully to this. And I think that's the big difference. You have to commit fully. You have to untether yourself from any other distractions. And you've got to put your all, 110% of your all into it. Because if you're not going over that 100%, you're leaving some back in your fuel tank for, your family, your personal life. It's just not going to work. Like you have to sacrifice at some point.
Everything you just said, that commitment, it's very, very important who you partner in life with that understands that sacrifice. And if you partner with someone in life that doesn't understand the commitment, the 110%, the late nights, the early nights, the Saturdays, the Sundays, life will become very, very difficult and very expensive in today's world. And I stress that with a lot of the speaking engagements I do. Who you decide to align with in life, if they don't understand what you just said, you're in for a long, wild ride. And I think if that decision of who to align with in life is done too abruptly, is done out of haste, it's done because there's a child involved, it's a recipe for disaster. And I've been very, very fortunate enough that who I decided to marry in life is very, very committed, has remained committed to me through the ups to downs, and recognizes that everything I infuse into the business world, Attain, the other ventures that I've done, and how that permeates into our household, she understands very, very well. And I would not have been able to do a lot of the things that I've done and accomplished without her by my side.
So if I can just throw an end on top of that, because I don't want that to just go at face value, is that can't be your forever though. And I think that there's a lot of people who fall into marriage issues because it stays there forever. Oh, they get it. They understand. And at some point that spouse is taking a risk that they're going to give up that time. They're going to work harder on the personal because at some time you're going to loop back around.
Sure.
And if you don't loop back around as that entrepreneur coming out of into your family position, whether it's husband or wife, and spend the time to build that relationship will deteriorate if all you think about is that 110%. So there has to be an exit strategy. And I would add to your entrepreneur definition of what you said and what Gary Vee said is the difference between the way we talk about it, the business owner and the entrepreneur, is the business owner is really good at their trade.
Yeah.
And they work their business. The entrepreneur is really passionate about what it is they do and wants their business to run by itself. And I think if you're going to be that entrepreneur putting the 120% in, at some point, you've got to unshackle yourself, Business Unchained, right?
Yeah.
You've got to unshackle yourself from that business so that this way you can give that time back to your personal life. Because if you make life all about business and not about family and friends, one of the biggest ties to longevity is community. And if you don't have that community because you just focused on business your entire life, you may find yourself feeling less fulfilled.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
But if you're not putting that 110, 20% until you get to that point, good luck.
I may never get there.
You're never going to get there.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, this was awesome. I could probably talk to you all day.
Yeah.
But in respect to your time, we're kind of running into it. So where do people find you? I know you speak. We're going to put this in the show notes as well. You've got a couple of different locations. If they say, hey, listen, I need to learn more, or you know what? My groin's been killing me and I need to get back on the turf, or my kid got hurt. Where do they find you?
Pumpkin Plains, New Jersey. I treat out of a gym called Spot 23. Easiest way is to either call the office, 855-428-8246, or email me directly, Matthew, Matthew, at attain-pt.com.
Social media, you're present?
Not present enough. My wife handles that.
Somebody wants to hear you speak?
Attain_PT.
Do you speak often, or do you have any video of some of the things that you've done out on the road speaking?
I do not. I do speak often. I try to speak usually once a semester at Montclair State University. I'm trying to tee up different speaking engagements for hopefully 2026. That's the best way to.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, listen, that's a wrap.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
Thanks
time,
for
man.
having me.
Hey guys, Bobby Mascia here. If you've been listening to Business Unchained, you know we're creating conversations that matter. Real stories and strategies to help business owners and entrepreneurs win. We've been putting a lot of work into these episodes in our online community, bringing you content that can actually move the needle for your business. And we're everywhere. Instagram, LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, TikTok, you name it, we're there. So look, if you're getting value from what we're doing, please follow, subscribe, and drop a quick comment or like. It really helps us grow this thing. Just search Business Unchained and you'll find us everywhere.